Hello and welcome back to my channel. So you guys, in today's video I bring you these interesting videos that I found on TikTok, guys. So we have a group of white people who are here to share their own white privilege experiences, guys. This should be interesting, right? Yeah, so guys, let me take this opportunity as well to say, guys, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so that every time I upload a new video, guys, you'll be notified. Before I play those videos, guys, let me play the videos that started all this on TikTok, guys.
And this is just your friendly reminder that if you actually thought white privilege exists, then mixed people would be clinging onto the Caucasian side like their life depended on it. Let that sink in for a minute.
Okay, just in case you missed on that, let me just read this for you slowly, okay? So she's saying that this is just your friendly reminder that if you actually thought white privilege existed, then mixed people would be clinging onto the Caucasian side like their life depended on it. Okay, so what she's simply saying is that if you're a mixed child, let's say your father is white, your mother is black, you would be clinging on your father's side like your life depended on. In short, she's saying white privilege does not exist. Okay guys, so when this video reached TikTok, guys, people staged this video, people responded to this video with their own experiences, even giving examples of what their black friends go through, guys. So let's just get straight into these videos, but I'm interested in finding out what you guys think about these videos in the comments section below. So let me just play my first stage and then we'll play the rest of the videos. Sit around.
This is just your friendly reminder that if you actually thought white privilege exists.
This video is for anyone who believes that white privilege doesn't exist. I'm not sure that one video can change someone's mind, so my goal here is simply to plant some seeds. I'm in my seed planting era, if you will, because if I can use this account and the platform that I have to cause one white person to go, that's some good points, then it's worth it. So Lauren, I hope you and anyone else that thinks like you stays and listens. White privilege is being able to say, I'm not really a political person, which is something that I hear from white people often. Being able to say that is an absolute privilege that Black, Indigenous, other people of color, disabled folks, and other marginalized communities simply do not have. White privilege is being able to walk into any cosmetic section and finding your shade of foundation. White privilege is not having, but should be having, difficult conversations with your young children about race and racism and how there are people in the world who will hate them solely because they have a little bit more melanin in their skin. White privilege is growing up and being able to own dolls that look like you, seeing Disney princesses that look like you. And yes, that has started to shift in recent years, but there are Black people today that can testify that when they were growing up, there was only one type of doll that looked like them, if there was any at all. And it wasn't even until 2009, I was in college at the time, that we got our first Black Disney princess, and she was a frog for most of the movie. White privilege is being able to walk into any hair salon and knowing without a shadow of a doubt you're going to be able to find a stylist who is competent in how to cut and style your texture of hair. White privilege is getting pulled over by a cop and the only thing that you're nervous about is getting a speeding ticket instead of worrying that you might say or do something that will get you killed. White privilege is not being followed closely around in a store because employees have assumed, based on the color of your skin, that you might steal something. White privilege is being given the benefit of the doubt in a lot of different situations solely just because you look like you're a nice person. White privilege is being able to travel freely to pretty much anywhere in the world and being welcomed by the people that live there. White privilege is interviewing for a job and not having to worry about your natural hair or if the interviewer has already written you off just because of the color of your skin. And that's not even close to being a complete list. Let me end with this. If you could choose to be Black, would you? That's kind of a rhetorical question because any white person that answers yes is a liar. Because you see and are fully aware of how Black people are historically and presently treated in this country and globally by white people and the systems that we uphold. And you know damn well you wouldn't choose that for yourself. That is white privilege. And it is absolutely sinister that in the year 2023, there are white people like you who are acting completely aloof to having said privilege. And that is white privilege.
Okay, so this first stage is just like this white person is just trying to explain to this other white person to say white privilege does exist, and just breaking it down, trying to make her understand, to say, my friend, you're in denial. White privilege does exist. Okay, so let's just get into these other two stitches. With these ones, this is the part where these guys, these white people, these white folks are giving examples of their own experience, and you know, the experiences of their black friends, you know, what they go through, what their black friends go through that they don't go through as white people. Okay, so let's just go straight into these videos, guys.
I've always known that white privilege exists, and I've always known that I've benefited from it just by the sheer dumb luck of being born into a white body. But I didn't really understand it until one night a few years ago. I had gotten my oil changed that day, and I guess they turned off my battery or something like that. Anyway, my automatic lights didn't come on like I was used to them doing. I worked late that night, and as I was heading home, I didn't realize that my lights weren't on, and I was still in a pretty well-lit area, so I couldn't tell yet. And I was pulled over. The actual traffic stop was a non-event. I think he just talked to me for a minute, made sure I wasn't drunk, gave me a warning. Maybe he didn't even give me a warning. He just let me go. But afterward, I texted my husband, voice text, obviously, and also a really good friend of mine, and was just like, oh my gosh, I just got pulled over by the cops. Like, what an inconvenience. My friend immediately called me, and I could hear the panic in her voice. She was like, are you okay? Do you need someone to come there? Is everything all right? So my friend is black. She's around my age, and she has a husband around my husband's age who is also black, and she has two black sons that are around my kids' ages. My kids are in 2nd and 5th grades. We've known each other since college. She has more advanced degrees than I do and a successful professional career. She's a smart and capable woman. And the fear in her voice was palpable. When I heard the panic in her voice, it just hit me. I had this realization that I will never truly know what it feels like to be black in America. Because when I get pulled over, I'm annoyed, right? It's taking up my time. I don't want to pay for a ticket. It's an annoyance. It's not a situation where I fear for my life. When my husband calls me and says he's getting pulled over, again, I'm annoyed, don't get a ticket. I'm not afraid he's not going to come home at all. I'm thinking about my friend, and her family's so similar to mine, and she's never going to know peace while her black husband and black sons are out moving around in the world. I think about all the fears I have about my kids and for my kids. I'm worried they're going to get murdered at school, just because of school shootings, let alone because of the color of their skin. I just can't imagine how helpless my friend must feel. It doesn't matter how hard she tries, how much education she has, how hard she works. It's simply dangerous to be black in America. And the very fact that I can't even fathom how she must feel is white privilege. And I will never understand why that is so impossible for some people to acknowledge. I'll never understand why the solution to this is to make sure that schools and colleges are shrouding the nation's history of systemic racism by just not teaching it in schools because it makes white people feel uncomfortable. I'll also never understand why some white people feel superior over another race simply because, like me, they had the sheer dumb luck to be born into a white body with white skin. We need to feel comfortable with this. We need to be reminded about our past, and we need to check our privilege. I can accept that the folks who came before me who look like me did horrifying things. It's our job to make sure those things don't continue to happen.
So the first time I heard the term white privilege, it was 2014, and I was deployed to Bagram, Afghanistan. Yes, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I hadn't heard it before then, but it shows you my bubble. So my background is I grew up in a religious sex cult, the Children of God, mostly in Brazil, but kind of all over Asia and Latin America. Brazil and Mexico is where I spent a lot of my childhood. And then when I was 15, I was excommunicated from the cult, moved to the US, put myself through high school and college, commissioned into the Army. Definitely worked very, 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 very hard. So in 2014, there we are in our Tactical Operations Center, and the term white privilege is being discussed. And I just hear someone call over to me from across the room, come on, Captain Mestenek, get over here. So I walk over to the conversation, and this guy who's a white, blue-eyed, blonde Army guy says to me, you of all people, ma'am, are the one that can prove that white privilege is not real because you've worked for everything you had. And when you hear a new term for something that you've always experienced, but you didn't know there was a word for it, obviously, it's a sad concept that this exists in our world, but it just made me very excited to have a word for it. And I just looked at him and I said, no, I'm sorry. I've worked really, really hard in my life, but just right now off the top of my head, I can give you 10 examples of why my life was easier because I was a pretty little white girl when I was dropped off in America with nothing. People gave me the benefit of the doubt. People helped me. Professors assumed that I wanted to be a great student, even though I was indigent, right? Just all throughout my life. Like, I grew up in poverty. I grew up with terrible abuse and terrible situations, but I was never discriminated against for the color of my skin. And that, of course, you know, started me out on a journey of learning, like, not just what is white privilege, but how do we dismantle it, give it back. I'm definitely still trying to educate myself on all of this, but yeah, that was, you know, an interesting moment for me to actually realize in a conscious way what I had realized all along was that I got lucky through no privilege of my own. I was born to a teenager in a sex cult in the Philippines, but I had white skin and an American passport. And the little brown girl who was also born to a teenager in a sex cult right next to me, she didn't have that same opportunity to have the advantages that I had just because of my skin.
I got pulled over a while back for a traffic violation. And the officer came up to my window. I put it down. He said, "License and registration, please." And my wallet had fallen off the seat onto the floor. And I reached over like this to grab it. And he said, "Don't lean over. Don't reach to the floor." And I did it again. I said, "No, it's my wallet's under here." And before I even got the words out, he yelled, "Do not reach for the floor." And then I got it. I understood what was going on, and I said, "I'm sorry." And then he asked me to step out of the car, and I did. And then he bent down, turned his back to me, bent down, and got my wallet from the floor. And his back was turned to me, and he was crouched down. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But now I realize that, you know, he didn't shoot me when I reached for the floor. And he didn't shoot me again when I defied him and did it again. And then he turned his back on me. And it occurs to me that when I get pulled over, my only thought is, oh shit, I'm going to have to go to traffic court. It's going to cost me money. And that it's an inconvenience for me. It's never, this could be the last moment of my life, ever. And that is my white privilege. I have it easy like that. Doesn't mean I've had it easy in all the areas of my life. Doesn't mean I haven't had challenges. It doesn't mean that I haven't had hard times. But it means that I just haven't had that. So, and that's white privilege.
And that's all I had for you guys in today's video. Please leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this entire video in the comments section below. That is after subscribing and turning on the notification bell. I will definitely see you in my next video. Peace.